on 95.3 FM in Windhoek, Desert Radio. The Bold Voice.
We're joined in studio by the Indian ambassador to Namibia, PRASHANT AGRAWAL. Good morning, Ambassador. How are you?
Very good morning to you and to your listeners.
We're happy to have you in studio. And, we'll just talk about Namibia-India relations today. The two countries have a long-standing relation in different aspects of health, education, and trade, and many other things. And while Namibia is also a major producer of diamonds, India, on the other hand, has a large diamond cutting and polishing industry. So we'll also just dig into that a little bit, just discuss if there are any plans or so for the future going forward. But I think to start us off, there was recently a large delegation of business people touring Namibia to explore business opportunities. Now, just talk to us about that. What sectors are they keen on? Is there anything that looks exciting in terms of relations between the two countries?
Sure. First of all, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I think we're beginning the week on a perfect note.
Yes,
definitely.
And I think, as you very rightly said, that we have a wonderful close partnership which actually goes back even before India's own independence, right back to 1946. But our challenge and our key objective is now to make this partnership future-oriented so that we can meet the needs of our youngsters, youth like all of us and all of you. So promoting trade, commerce, investments is a very high priority naturally for that. And especially during COVID times, it has been our really important objective that we build these sync linkages more. So it was a part of that we set up the India-Namibia Trade Forum, which is largely from businesses in South India. And they really focus on small and medium sector because I think the big companies know how to find their own way, but it's the SMEs that they need help most. So we had a very good delegation visit from this trade forum to Namibia. There were more than 20 companies. They were in various sectors like agriculture, pharmaceuticals, ICT, and so on. And they had some very good meetings. But let me very quickly add that we organize these B2B online meetings very frequently. And we have organized hundreds of these meetings in past few months. The next one is happening on 12th of April. So I would like to invite your listeners to join in for that. We will share details on our social media.
Absolutely.
Now, Ambassador, quickly just give us a rundown of, the gross worth of trade between the two countries, let's say in the past 2 years or so.
Well, during COVID times, our trade naturally had an impact. But I'm very relieved and very happy to report to you that our bilateral trade has now come back to the pre-COVID levels, which was roughly about $135 million. The actual amount is actually more than 2.5 times this volume because a lot of trade happens through South Africa as well. From India, you normally take a lot of, petroleum products because, we are good at sending refined petroleum products. You take also a lot of pharmaceuticals, whereas from Namibia, these are some finished products and, semi-precious stones and finished diamonds, as you rightly pointed out.
And then what would you say are some of the key areas that the two countries are cooperating on, aside from trade, for example?
So you see, in our partnership, capacity building and skilling has always been extremely important. We have trained more than 1,200 Namibian, officials, youngsters in various, skilling opportunities. But obviously, now that you're looking at the fourth industrial revolution, if you're looking to prepare for the next, round of things to happen. So in that, innovation plays a large role. So, I'll just give one example of this wonderful Center of Excellence in ICT that we have set up at NUST, Namibia University of Science and Technology, where I think young Namibians are being trained on, things like, big data analytics, ethical hacking, and so on. So these are some wonderful opportunities and collaborations that we are working on.
All right. And then, Ambassador, we know that both countries are rich in resources, right? But we want to know from your side, what are the most sought after commodities from Namibia by India?
Well, I would not have any particular sought after commodity, but I think since we talked about diamonds, now, as you know, India is a big center for global polishing and processing diamonds.
That's true.
9 out of 10 diamonds in the world is processed and polished in India, and India is also a big consumer. But Namibia produces some of the best diamonds. And I think that's where we have a wonderful collaboration. We have, a number of Indian companies which are based in Namibia, and they run absolutely state-of-the-art facilities, which have to be seen to be believed. Where they are training a number of young Namibians, and you go to those factories and you see youngsters 20, 21 years old, who are learning these very important skills. And ultimately you will have a pool of skilled Namibians in the diamond sector which can take on the diamond industry and help it flourish in Namibia itself. So we are talking of those kind of collaborations rather than a simple trade, between the two countries.
Okay. Right. And then you also mentioned agriculture, right? And agriculture is a big sector for us, a big growing sector that a lot of investment is going into. So how is India cooperating with Namibia in areas of agriculture and agriculture mechanization?
We all need to eat.
Yes.
So agriculture will forever remain important for developing countries like us. And it is extremely important for Namibia. It is extremely important for India because, mind you, we also have 1.3 billion people to feed.
Yeah.
And, so we have gone through similar challenges like Namibia, where initially we struggled. But through a number of experiences, we have now achieved food self-sufficiency. And, this is an important thing because you must be reading that what's going on in Europe right now, the global food grain prices are going to increase. And that's going to create pressure on everyone. So I think it is very important that domestically we learn to grow, our own produce. In that, I think India can help because we have faced similar challenges, we have similar problems, and we have developed systems of, agricultural mechanization, irrigation, hybrid crops, and so on, where we can do a lot more than what is currently happening.
Yeah. And we also know that India is also big on pharmaceuticals, right? What are the opportunities for the two countries, just cooperating on this particular aspect?
Well, thank you for mentioning this sector because it is very close to my heart as well. Let me just start by giving one small example. I was in India a few weeks ago and I had to get a COVID test done. And in India, you can get a COVID test done at your home, the RT-PCR test, for equivalent of 100 Namibian dollars. And the results will be with you in a few hours. Whereas you will pay something like between 700 to 900 to even 1200 and 1400 Namibian dollars.
That's true.
So what I'm trying to say is that in India, the cost of pharmaceutical products, medicines and tests can be 5, 10, 15 or even 20 times less than what an average consumer has to pay there. And again, we have learned our own lessons because we have a very large population. A number of them are not very well to do, whose health requirements still need to be met. And I think COVID has very rightly sort of brought the focus back that, we need to have domestic capacities in Namibia as well. And we need to make a start. And that's what we have offered. We have offered this to the government. We have offered this to the private sector. We can look at public-private partnerships. That, if Namibian industry wants to set up, make a beginning by producing your own drugs and pharmaceuticals and the whole healthcare industry. I don't think you will find a better partner than us because we bring the value for money, high quality things at very nominal costs.
And during COVID, the Indian embassy also made a lot of contributions in terms of, getting PPE, things like that, just to help out. What is that going to look like going forward? Because COVID isn't quite gone, but will we still be, exchanging support in that capacity?
That support has always been there. I think when COVID hit, we were one of the first countries to, provide COVID-19 vaccines to Namibia when we were ourselves, in dire need of those same vaccines. But I'm very happy to see Namibia's own progress and advances against COVID-19. I think you have tackled that well, but it's not over yet.
Yeah.
And I think the need is to learn our lessons and, increase our collaboration further. And we stand ready. We are there in all forms to give due facilitation on this very important sector.
Now, Ambassador, like you said, the two countries share a very, very long, special, close relationship, right? But in as much as there has been trade over the years, we haven't seen that convert to booming businesses per se. Is there a reason for, this sort of slow trade not going into this big business that we eventually want to realize and see?
Well, I think we have made good progress. Let me mention that. But at the same time, we have to also realize that there is an enormous potential to do more. And let me give you one more example, which is, I will say, the renewable energy. Things like solar power and wind power. And again, I think that is an area of immediate interest because what's happening in Europe today, the crude oil prices have crossed globally $130 per barrel. So you will see sharp increases across the board, and you will see supply disruptions and so on. And also for the climate crisis, I think it is only natural that we shift to renewable energies like solar power and wind energy. And Namibia has a very good policy to do that. But I think what I would like to also urge is to look at, your developing country partners. I think naturally, the tendency is to look, at our traditional partners here, let's say, for example, in Europe. But if I give you an example of India, that, we have again sort of faced the same challenges because energy security is, after all, very important. Now, India has 100,000 megawatts of installed renewable energy. A large part of it is solar energy. The solar power tariffs in India are the cheapest in the world. They're 2.5 rupees per unit, which will be about 50 cents, Namibian cents per unit. Cheapest in the world. We have some of the largest solar power parks in the world. So we would like to work together. You have some of the best solar radiation here. But I don't see those collaborations happening to the extent that we want. So I would once again say that, we are ready. We are there to help facilitate some very useful partnerships and collaborations. And as far as our government is concerned, we are totally driven by what your needs and priorities are. So that's where we would like to come in.
Absolutely. Now, just thinking more on a continental level and India's partnerships with other countries as it relates, to Namibia being an African country as well. How does India view Namibia's partnership in the African continental free trade area? Does our partnership in that facilitate different kinds of relationships that we get to have with India?
Well, Africa has been a highest priority for us for historical reasons. I think if you go back to, our shared histories, you will see, how we all stood together during very difficult times. So I think that's where we all come from. When it comes to our partnership with Africa, we are not there for your resources. We want it to be a mutually beneficial relationship. India also has a lot to learn from Africa. And we have been one of your largest trade partners as a whole. I think 2 years ago, the trade were almost $68 billion. And I think the African Continental Trade Agreement is a wonderful opportunity for Africa as a whole and for us to grow together. And we hope and we look forward to early operationalization of the trade agreement. But let me also tell your listeners that you have the Southern African Customs Union, SACU. So we are working on a preferential trade agreement with SACU. We hope to see progress in that as well. Again, we would like, while in SACU, South Africa is a major player, but we are very keen to build our direct, economic and commercial linkages with other members like Namibia as well.
All right. And we've talked health, we've talked trade, but another sector that India has been quite helpful with is education as well. So just talk to us a little bit about the status of that in terms of, students going to India. I know that a lot of Namibians actually go study in India, and a lot of Indians also come here. So that exchange in terms of education, what's that looking like currently?
So education has traditionally been very important. I gave you the example of the ICT center in NAS.
Yeah.
And the courses that it offers are all oversubscribed by more than 2.5 times. So I think that shows, NICT is just one area, but traditionally we have offered a lot of scholarships to Namibian students to go and study in India. In fact, the scholarship for the coming year is just going to be announced in the next few weeks.
Okay.
So I think your listeners can keep an eye out for that. But I'm also very heartened to see a number of self-financing students from Namibia going to India, because I think the cost of education remains very, very reasonable as compared to other destinations. And it's a English-speaking education system. It is competitive, because I think Indians are very competitive. So the number of students going to India has been on a very fast increasing pace, which is very heartening. We give these students all support and counseling and briefing. I think almost all of them are doing very well, and they are very happy. We periodically get together with them when they are here in Namibia, how they are doing, and we hear very good stories from them. So do consider India as your education destination as well.
Testimony to that, actually, my sister studied in India, in Bangalore.
Wow.
She loved it. She always talks very well about it.
Wonderful.
All right, Ambassador, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really did have a lot of insight from your side, just in terms of the relationship between India and Namibia, of course, and we do hope that the relationship does, of course, strengthen, and that the results we get from that are extremely fruitful.
Thank you so much.
All right, there was, of course, Indian Ambassador to Namibia, PRASHANT AGRAWAL. It is 8:33 on the time now. We are still tuning to Breakfast in the Desert with myself, John Collin, and Alana. We'll be back with more after this.
What's up, everybody? This is Guido.